The headline says it was a roster decision, but the locker room leaks tell a much darker story about the systematic blacklisting of Caitlin Clark. You saw the highlights, and you saw the jerseys selling out in minutes. But while the fans were screaming her name, the league's power brokers were moving in silence to ensure the face of the game was kept on the outside looking in. This is not just about a missed Olympic roster or a hard foul in the first quarter of a June game. This is about a coordinated effort to suppress a superstar who dared to disrupt the ecosystem that the old guard spent 30 years building. Today, we are revealing the real timeline of the 2024 and 2025 freeze-out. We have the deleted evidence from late-night social media sessions and the podcast clips that the league office wishes would disappear from the algorithm. We are going deep into the locker room fallout to explain why the most popular player in the history of the sport found herself playing the role of an outcast in a league she was literally saving from bankruptcy. Look at this deleted reply from 2 in the morning, just days after the Olympic roster was finalized. A veteran player didn't just disagree with the selection, she liked a post calling Caitlin's inclusion a threat to the culture of the team. That is receipt number 1, and it is just the tip of the iceberg. To understand why they blacklisted Caitlin Clark in 2025, we have to go back to the smoking gun. It started with the Team USA snub. On paper, the committee said it was about experience and fit. They claimed the roster was too deep and that a rookie didn't have the reps to handle the pressure of Paris. But let's look at the actual forensic evidence. When the news broke that Caitlin was left off the team, the silence from the veterans was deafening. There were no welcome messages and no public defenses. Instead, we saw a series of subliminal messages on Instagram. Veteran guards were posting their accolades with captions like, "Earned, not given." This wasn't a coaching decision, it was a statement. The old guard was terrified that if Caitlin Clark stepped onto that global stage, she would render their entire legacies as a footnote. The tension didn't start in the pros. To see the roots of this blacklist, we have to go back to the 2023 and 2024 NCAA seasons. The rivalry between Iowa and LSU wasn't just a game, it was a cultural shift. When Angel Reese made that ring gesture, it wasn't just trash talk. It was the first shot fired in a war for the soul of the sport. The media framed it as a rivalry, but the reality inside the locker rooms was a growing resentment. While Caitlin was breaking scoring records and signing multi-million-dollar NIL deals, the rest of the college landscape was feeling the heat of her spotlight. When they all entered the 2024 draft, that resentment didn't stay in college. It followed them into the WNBA like a shadow. In the early months of the 2024 season, we saw the physicality reach a level that felt personal. It wasn't just a welcome to the league moment. We saw Chennedy Carter's shoulder check, and we saw the bench reaction. Look at the tape. When Caitlin hit the floor, players weren't just playing hard, they were celebrating. This is where the digital forensics come in. After that game, Angel Reese didn't just celebrate the win, she went to the podium and said, "The reason people are watching is not just because of one person." That is a direct shot at the marketing machine pushing Clark. It was a clear signal to the rest of the league that the hierarchy was under attack and the veterans were expected to hold the line. But the real blacklisting happened in the boardrooms and the off-season negotiations for 2025. The launch of the Unrivaled League was supposed to be a win for everyone. A 3-on-3 league designed to keep players stateside and pay them what they are worth. The organizers offered Caitlin a deal that would have made her the highest paid player in women's basketball history. We're talking over $1 million, plus equity in the league, a Lionel Messi-style contract. And yet, when the final rosters were released, her name was missing. The public narrative was that she needed rest after a grueling schedule. The internal reality was far toxic. Sources close to the negotiations suggest that several top veterans made it clear they didn't want the league to become the Caitlin Clark show. There was an ultimatum delivered in private circles. If she gets equity and the marketing focus, we aren't all in. They wanted the money she brought in, but they didn't want her at the head of the table. By staying out, Caitlin wasn't just resting, she was responding to a freeze-out that made her feel like an outcast in her own sport. This brings us to the most shocking part of the investigation. The 2025 season was supposed to be her redemption arc, but instead, it became a season of whispers. When Caitlyn went down with a groin injury that limited her to only 13 games, the narrative from certain circles wasn't one of sympathy. On various podcasts hosted by current and former players, the conversation turned to how the league was better off with a more balanced spotlight. They used her injury as an opportunity to push the idea that the WNBA didn't need a savior. They framed her struggle as proof that she wasn't ready for the long haul. This is a classic power move in professional sports. You wait for the phenom to stumble, and then you rewrite the history of their impact while they're in the training room. Look at the way the veterans treat the media questions about her. When A'ja Wilson or Breanna Stewart are asked about the Clark effect, you see the eye rolls and the short answers. They are tired of talking about the rookie. But it goes deeper than just being tired. There is a documented history of legends like Cheryl Swoops questioning Caitlyn's records and her ability to translate her game to the next level. Swoops famously suggested that Caitlyn's scoring records were skewed because she had extra years of eligibility. Even when the math didn't add up, the narrative stuck. This is how you blacklist a superstar without ever saying the word. You chip away at their credibility until the fans start to wonder if the hype was real. The locker room fallout at the Indiana Fever was another layer of the drama. Despite the public shows of unity, there were reports of friction regarding the team's travel and security protocols. Because of Caitlyn, the team had to upgrade to charter flights and increased security. While this benefited the whole team, it created a divide. Veterans on other teams were calling out the special treatment. They were playing in front of record crowds, but they were frustrated that the changes were only happening because of one player. The jealousy was palpable. In a league where players have fought for decades for basic respect, seeing a 22-year-old get it all in 6 months felt like an insult to their struggle. The social media receipts from the 2025 offseason are the most telling. We tracked the likes and follows of the top 20 players in the league. There's a distinct pattern of players interacting with each other while completely ignoring Clark's content. It's a digital cold shoulder. When she posted about her off-season training, the engagement from her peers was almost zero. Compare that to when any other star posts a workout video. The comment sections are filled with support. This is the new age of blacklisting. It is not about banning someone from the building, it's about making them feel invisible while they're standing center court. And then we have the culture war angle. The WNBA is currently split between the old guard and the new wave. The old guard represents the grit and the traditional struggle of the league. The new wave, led by Clark, represents the commercial explosion and the move toward a more NBA-style entertainment product. The blacklist is a defense mechanism. If the old guard allows Caitlyn to take full control, they lose the narrative of their own history. They are fighting for the soul of the game, but in doing so, they are alienating the very fans who are keeping the lights on. Think about the specific clip from Sue Bird's podcast where the conversation turned to the toxicity of the new fan base. While they tried to blame the fans, the subtext was clear. They were blaming the catalyst for those fans. By labeling the new audience as toxic, they are indirectly labeling Caitlyn as the source of the problem. It's a brilliant but brutal strategy. If you can't beat the player on the court, you attack the culture they bring with them. You make the environment so hostile that the player starts to question if they even want to be there. We also have to look at the physical evidence of the 2025 season. Even in the limited games she played, the targeting was obvious. It wasn't just hard defense, it was extra shoves after the whistle and intentional face guarding that went beyond the scheme. The message from the league's veterans was clear: we will make every minute you spend on this floor a nightmare. This is the hidden truth behind the headline. Caitlyn Clark wasn't just playing basketball, she was surviving a hostile takeover of her career. The final smoking gun is the Team USA situation for the upcoming cycles. Even with the public backlash from 2024, the selection committee has remained vague about her future. They're sticking to the experience narrative, despite her being an all-WNBA first-team selection. If the best players aren't on the team, then the team isn't about winning, it's about politics. And in the WNBA politics, the name at the top of the blacklist is Caitlyn Clark. As we look toward the 2026 season, the question remains, will the league realize that they are killing the golden goose, or will the jealousy continue to drive the decision-making? The history of the WNBA is filled with great players, but it has never seen a force like this. The blacklisting of Caitlin Clark will go down as one of the biggest missed opportunities in sports history. They had a chance to build a global empire, but they chose to protect a locker room hierarchy instead. We have seen this before in other sports, but never with this much transparency. Between the podcast slips and the social media trails, the receipts are all there. The vets aren't just protecting their spots, they are protecting their pride. They didn't want to be saved by a rookie from Iowa, and they are willing to burn the whole thing down to prove they don't need her. But the numbers don't lie. Ratings are up when she plays and down when she sits. The fans want the truth, and the truth is that the WNBA is in a civil war. In the end, the blacklist might be the very thing that cements Caitlin's legacy. Every great hero needs a villain, and in this story, the league itself has taken on that role. The more they try to silence her, the louder the fans get. The more they try to freeze her out, the more she becomes a martyr for the new era of the sport. We will continue to follow the paper trail and the locker room leaks because this soap opera is far from over. Stay tuned for our next deep dive where we go inside the specific locker room confrontation that happened during the All-Star break. We have the eyewitness accounts of what was really said when the cameras weren't rolling. The WNBA wants to present a united front, but the cracks are starting to show and the truth is finally spilling out. If you think the 2024 season was messy, just wait until you see what we have on the 2025 fallout. This is Basketball Spilled, and we are just getting started.